So today, AI can write your term paper, it can create some absolutely mind-bending art, and it can even drive your car, which hopefully it does well. But this whole revolution, it didn't just appear out of thin air. Nope. It's the end result of a really long, super dramatic, and honestly kind of hilarious story of giant dreams and even bigger failures. Okay, so let's get into it, because the history of AI is not a straight line. Not at all. It's much more like a roller coaster. We're talking a wild ride full of these audacious dreams, some spectacular faceplants, and, one of the most incredible comebacks in the history of tech. So yeah, you're going to want to buckle up for this one. And believe it or not, the dream of making artificial beings is ancient. I mean, we are talking way, way before we had the technology to build a simple calculator, let alone a chatbot that can argue with you about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. People have been obsessed with this idea for centuries. Seriously, the ancient Greeks told stories about giant bronze robots. Inventors back in the Middle Ages were building these clunky mechanical birds. And by the 1700s, you had philosophers seriously debating whether we humans were just, complicated, fleshy machines. AI is really just the newest chapter in a very, very old story. Then the 20th century rolls around, and the dream starts to get real. In 1950, the absolute genius Alan Turing basically threw down a challenge that we're still talking about today. He asked a simple question: how would we even know if a machine could actually think? His answer was the Turing Test. It's simple, it's elegant. If you can have a text chat with a machine and you can't tell it's not a human, well, it passes. And that was pretty much the official starting gun for the race to build a thinking machine. So, with those foundations in place, the 1950s kicked off this era of brilliant minds and some, let's just say, hilariously over-the-top predictions. This was the golden age of optimism, a time when it felt like absolutely anything was possible. And the year 1956, that's when it all became official. A group of brilliant academics, they all got together for a summer workshop at Dartmouth College. And it was right there that they coined a brand new and now world-famous term for what they were doing: artificial intelligence. Giving it a name gave it a mission. Now, what's really wild about this is the sheer confidence. I mean, you got to remember, this was the dawn of the computer age. There was all this incredible post-war optimism. We'd crack the atom, so of course we could crack the human brain. These pioneers genuinely believed they could map out human thought and just, plug it into a machine, and maybe in just a few months. That level of optimism, well, it sparked decades of research and a whole lot of hype. And for a little while, it seemed like they were totally right. Early programs were solving math theorems, and then came ELIZA. ELIZA was a program that acted like a psychotherapist. Now, it was a pretty simple trick. It just rephrased your own sentences back to you as questions. But people were absolutely floored. It felt like actual magic. So, with all of this amazing progress and sky-high optimism, what could possibly go wrong, right? Famous last words. The dream was about to get a very, very serious reality check. And when reality hit, it didn't just tap them on the shoulder. Oh no, it was a full-on crash. All those grand promises started to look less like real science and more like, well, parlor tricks. The magic was gone. And progress just stalled. For one thing, computers back then had about as much power as a modern-day toaster. There was almost no digital data for them to learn from, but the biggest problem was just the sheer complexity of it all. They figured out that teaching a computer chess was one thing, but teaching it common sense, like knowing that you can pull a string but you can't push it, that was a whole other universe of difficult. So funding dried up, and the entire field entered this long, cold period that everyone calls the AI winter. But AI wasn't dead. It was just hibernating. So now let's fast forward to the 1990s and see how AI managed to stage its big comeback. And it did it with a completely new strategy. It was time for a total rethink. Okay, this part right here, this is the key. This is the aha moment that changed literally everything. The whole philosophy shifted. See, instead of trying to painstakingly write down every single rule for what a cat looks like, researchers had a realization. What if we just show a computer a million pictures of cats and let it figure out the rules? This was the birth of modern machine learning. It was a move from teaching to training. And this new, data-driven approach, it didn't take long at all to produce a world-shaking result. The year was 1997, and this one moment would put AI right back on the map, proving that the comeback was not only real, it had some serious power behind it. This was huge.
I mean, for the first time ever, a machine officially outthought the best human mind in chess, one of the most intellectually demanding games on the planet. Now, Deep Blue didn't think like a person. It just crunched through millions and millions of possibilities using raw data and processing power. And it worked. The winter was finally over.
That comeback in the 90s, that set the stage for everything we see today. It basically lit the fuse for the AI explosion that we are all living through at this very moment. An explosion powered by this perfect storm of ingredients that all came together at just the right time. And this is basically the secret recipe. So first, the internet gave us this almost infinite library of text and images and videos for AIs to learn from. Second, it turns out that graphics cards, or GPUs, the things that were made for video games, they were perfect for the kind of math AI needs. So that gave it incredible horsepower. And third, we developed way smarter algorithms, a technique called deep learning that's inspired by the structure of the human brain. So the big bang moment for this whole new era came in 2012. A program called AlexNet completely demolished the competition in a challenge to identify objects in photos. And this was more than just a win. It proved that deep learning wasn't just a theory anymore. This is the moment AI finally learned to see. And once it could see and recognize the world, the possibilities just became endless. And that one single breakthrough opened the floodgates with incredible speed. First, you got AI that could understand the world, and that's what powers things like your voice assistant or the tech in self-driving cars. And then that led directly and really quickly to the generative tools we have today, where AI doesn't just analyze information, it can create entirely new text, images, and ideas, all on its own. So the wild roller coaster story of AI is one of massive hype, then a bitter cold winter, followed by an absolutely explosive comeback. We've gone from ancient myths to machines that can create myths of their own. And that leaves all of us with one big question. Are we at the top of the biggest peak yet, or is this just the beginning of an even steeper climb?